Hey guys, welcome adventurers, it's Clifftop here, and in this video I'm going to be having a little chat with Staaf Hästö, who is the creative director and studio head of Clifftop Games, a really great modern adventure game studio and company. Very small, it's just himself and two other people really, but they have made some fantastic recent adventure games such as Cathy Rain and Whispers of a Machine. If you've not played them, definitely check them out. Now, I wanted to speak to him in this one because they've just announced that there's going to be a sequel to Cathy Rain, called Cathy Rain 2. Well, there's more to it than that. It's not just called Cathy Rain 2. But I'm really interested to find out a little bit more about that game, when it might be coming out, who's returning, and what's changed really since the original Cathy Rain. So it's really just a chat about that. We chat a little bit about Clifftop Games as well in general, whether we might see a Whispers of a Machine at some point too. So thank you so much, Joel, for chatting to me. It was lovely to speak to you and just find out a bit more about your process. And thank you to everyone who joined me for the live Q&A where this took part on my Twitch, twitch.tv/Clifftop. Please do feel free to follow me there because I'll be doing more of these Q&As. And thanks to everyone who took part and dropped in some questions. It was great to field those questions from you guys as well. I'm also playing 1,000 Times Resist on there as well. So I don't just do interviews, I also play some modern and some retro adventure games. As always, if you like this, drop it a little like and subscribe, and let's get into the interview. Yo, thank you very much for joining us. We've got the creative director and studio head, of course, of Clifftop Games, which have made lots of great modern adventure games, ones I particularly enjoyed, Whispers of a Machine, Cathy Rain, and I'm very excited to hear that we've got a sequel coming up to Cathy Rain, which is great. I don't know if people were expecting this to happen. I think some people had an inkling, maybe.
Yeah, maybe some people lost hope over the years. I
Oh
don't know.
no.
Yeah, possible. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much, Joel, for joining us for this. We'll obviously talk mainly about Cathy Rain, but we'll talk a little bit about Clifftop in general as well.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be great just to hear first, just when did you decide, confirmed to yourself really that you were going to create this sequel to Cathy Rain, and why really? What made you think, okay, yes, let's do it?
Well, a sequel was something that I had in mind from the beginning, really. But the universe had a habit of putting obstacles in my way, really. So it started with the original game not doing so well in terms of sales originally. So I felt that, okay, I need to pivot somehow.
Yeah.
And that's where Whispers of Machine came from. We wanted to do something that innovated a bit more, had more replayability, that sort of thing. Uh, but then over time, the sales sort of caught up a bit with Cathy Rain, and I felt that, okay, maybe we can make a sequel. So that was always the idea from the beginning, to create a series of games, but it just didn't seem feasible at first. So, uh,
And then
and then
at what
yeah.
point were you like, yes, this is feasible?
Well, basically after we launched Whispers of Machine, I wanted to create Cathy Rain 2 immediately. But we realized that the first game was made in AGS, kind of an old engine at that point. So we felt that, okay, we can just port that to Unity quickly. And it ended up taking 2 years. So that's where Cathy Rain Director's Cut came from. It started out as a port, and we needed to sort of put some additional content in there to sort of get some money back from it and all of that. So that was basically just to pave the way for Cathy Rain 2 to get the first game in a more modern game engine and all that. And also getting used to Unity and learning the ins and outs of that engine internally and everything.
Yeah, what
So,
was that like, making that move?
well, it wasn't too bad for me because I've been working in the game industry for 15 years and
Yeah.
I've worked in many different game engines. So it wasn't that difficult for me. But still, it takes time to port a game. Who knew?
Yes.
Mm, mm.
But it sounds like, so you've gotten into the groove of that now.
Yeah.
And at what point then, was it immediately after sort of Whispers of a Machine you thought, yes, the next one's
Yeah.
going to be Cathy Rain 2, or was there any thought for anything else? Or
No, that was the idea. And basically, I thought that the director's cut would be a much quicker project. Basically, just a way to learn Unity and just quickly port the original Cathy Rain. And of course, it grew out of proportion. And that's why it has taken such a long time to get the sequel
yeah.
sorted. So, yeah.
And so let's talk about sort of the setting. It's going to be 3 years after the original is set, so in 1998.
Yep.
And tell us a bit about kind of where we find Cathy.
Yeah, so at this point, Kathy is kind of established as a private investigator. So, um, but she isn't doing so hot. The cases have started to dry up, and she's kind of broke and about to get evicted. So she's really desperate for case. She needs something, and that's where the Soothsayer comes in. So the mayor of the city where she lives, called Cassidy, announced a big reward for anybody who can help catch this serial killer that's sort of menacing the city. So that's where we come in. That's when the game begins.
And yeah, as you said, she has to catch this serial killer. So it sounds like it could go in some quite dark directions then.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah, that was the idea from the beginning. And just a game, yeah, that's been there for a long time.
Hmm.
Just chasing a serial killer as a concept for a sequel to Catherine, because I think it fits her character very well.
Sure.
Chasing bad guys and
Yeah.
these dark stories. Yeah, so of
Well, yeah, because I know obviously Twin Peaks was a big inspiration for the first
course,
one, and
definitely.
is that sort of similar for this, or are there other things that you kind of drew on for inspirations?
Mainly, well, most of the inspirations are obviously shared between the two games. The first game was quite inspired by Twin Peaks, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Also, Veronica Mars, the first Gabriel Knight,
Yes. Yeah.
Silent Hill to some degree, yeah. And but the sequel, I guess, just serial killer fiction in general. But if I have to mention one example, it would probably be the David Fincher movie Seven, uh,
Okay. Yeah.
90s movie. Yeah, you know it. Yeah,
What's in the
it's
box? Yeah.
exactly classic, classic. Yeah.
And
Uh,
so, will there be this mix of? I think I know the answer to this, but will there be a mix of kind of the traditional detective and sort of supernatural that we had it in the first? I'm guessing yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Some sort of supernatural elements will return in some shape or form.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
And we've got a question straight off the bat. Thank you very much
Oh,
for dropping questions in from Chris F. Duran. I hope I said that right. But saying, and I guess this is maybe from, I don't know if they're talking about Cathy Rain 2 or just the Cathy Rain series, but
mhm.
any plans for DLCs or deluxe editions or anything like that? I suppose that, yeah, that must be about Cathy Rain 2. Like,
Yeah,
that might
probably.
be
Yeah.
slightly far in the future to think of right now, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably bundle like the soundtrack with the game or something like that. But we're not planning any elaborate special editions or anything
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Pretty standard.
And I know a lot of people as well. I might as well ask this now because it's sort of in connection with this. And I know a lot of people I saw on forums and things were asking about, the potential for GOG or Switch and things like that.
Yeah, we'd love to have the game on GOG, but that's a curated store, so obviously we can't guarantee anything until we actually have the proper talk with them.
Yeah,
But I'd like to have the game on them. I love DRM free games, so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
want to support that.
And I,
As for Switch,
yeah, you go.
yeah, we're hoping to be able to do that, but it's we need to see where wishlets go and all that before we can make that decision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair
Mm.
enough. And I
Yeah.
suppose, if people are interested in this, maybe they've only played Whispers of Machine, they haven't yet played Cathy
Yeah.
Rain, and obviously they should, but if they haven't yet and they're thinking, "Oh, is it possible to just jump into this game? What's going to be the mix of I suppose elements that fans will know? Will people be able to just jump into it basically?"
They will, and there will be like a recap in the menu if you want to get caught up on
Okay.
roughly
Okay.
what happened in the first game. But I would recommend people to play the first game
Yeah.
beforehand. I think they will get much more out of the story, and they won't get spoiled about everything that happens in the first game.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend them to play the director's cut because that's the canon version, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about making that director's cut. So, because obviously the original came out, I believe it was 2016, right? And
Yeah.
then there was the
Yeah.
director's cut in 2021. And what was it that brought you to feel that you needed to create that? Was it just a feeling that there was some avenues that you just didn't have the time to explore that you wanted to?
Uh, Yeah, and just tidying up some of the plot and the lore for the sequel.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, it started out as just a porting thing. It wasn't intended to be that big of a project, but it grew on its own, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you, as you said, you kind of
And then I
wanted
took
to.
the opportunity to expand on things that I wanted to explore in the originally, but didn't have the time or to do really. Yeah.
And another one from Chris, actually, and this is an interesting one, asking, will we be playing as any other character aside from Kathy in the sequel?
That's currently not planned. No,
Okay.
actually. Yeah. We considered it, but opted not to. Yeah.
And yes, Get Celius does ask as well, if this question has to be asked, and you've kind of not touched on Steam Deck, so I will ask this, will this game be playable on Steam Deck?
Uh, yeah, I'm hoping so.
Yes,
Yeah,
I suppose this is, yeah.
yeah, at some point it could be post-launch that we get like proper controller support in. Uh, but yeah, I'm hoping
Yeah.
we can do that. And
It,
that sort of ties to Switch as well. If we have controller support, porting to Switch is pretty easy. So, yeah.
and because I guess how long have you been working in development on this one then, roughly? It's
Like since the end of 2021-ish.
okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Oh, so you've been keeping it under your hat for quite a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. It's been a struggle to
Yeah.
put
What
the
is
lid
that
on this.
like then?
Oh, it's torment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be demoralizing to not be able to share anything that you're working on. But yeah, that's how it goes.
Because I saw you, obviously, I think a lot of people would have seen it you sort of building up. You were sort of saying, "Oh, we've got this thing. We're going to be a bit," and
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I was so excited.
yeah. And so you must be quite relieved now. You can just like talk about it
Exactly, finally.
um
Yeah.
and so you had a demo for a bit for the sequel
Yeah.
and what did you kind of learn from feedback of that, and what have people been talking about that?
Well, we learned a lot about like the gameplay and the puzzle balance, and maybe the puzzle we picked with the quiz wasn't
Yes.
ideal for like a first-time experience. And actually, we're patching the demo, and it's coming out tomorrow again for 24
Oh,
hours. And we made a bunch of improvements based on the feedback. So if you haven't checked out the demo before, please do. Or if you have played it before, please check it out and let us know what you think of the changes. That would
oh,
be really
that's
cool.
great. Okay, and so
Yeah.
how long is that going to be? Just for a short amount of time again, or how long
Yeah,
will?
24 hours. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's
right. Okay.
really short this time around. But then we'll go for next fest in February again.
Right.
So yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
And what's the thought process behind just putting it out for 24 hours? Is it just to get a
Well, we
quick?
want to see if these changes are appreciated,
Yeah.
and if the because we get statistics on how long playtime all the players
Okay.
have and all that stuff. So we want to use that to gauge whether or not the demo is good enough for Steamfest, or if we want to improve it even more,
Yeah.
basically. So it's kind of a trial run for Steamfest, really. Yeah.
And let's talk a bit about sort of gameplay mechanics a little bit, and
Mhm. Sure.
how is it going to be sort of feeling quite similar to the original Kathy Rain, or is there anything that's changed in that
Yeah,
aspect?
I would say largely it follows the same formula. One new feature that people who played the demo probably saw was the hotspot inquiries. That when
Yes.
you're in dialogue with a character, you can ask about their environment. So that's one like core change from the interface in the original game. But other than that, I think that most people will feel comfortable with the controls and the kind of puzzles that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Get Celius asks, will the soundtrack to Kathy Rain 2 be sold as well? I think you did say this actually. You said it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're going to bundle that along because they said, I want to say I enjoyed the music of the first game. And yeah, the music of the first game is great. So I'm glad to hear
awesome. Yeah.
that that's going to be the same. And I guess along those sort of lines, are we going to have the original cast of the first one returning for the most
We
part?
have confirmed Ariel Siegel as
Great.
Kathy,
Yeah.
so she will reprise her lead role. Others, we'd like to have everybody, of course, return if possible, but we haven't confirmed yet. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
except
fair enough.
for
Yeah,
Ariel.
but I
Yeah,
suppose she's the main role, so it's great to
yeah,
have her back. And
yeah. We're super happy to
um,
have her back. Yeah.
and I was reading you've written that it's Clifftop's longest game, which I thought was
Yeah.
quite intriguing. And is that just a sense of you that there's going to be more? I guess more puzzles, more locations, or in what kind of
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, just a longer game overall, both gameplay and story and all that. I would estimate maybe between 50 and 80% longer than the original Kathy Rain.
I thought you were going to
So
say 50 hours. Then I was like,
oh,
goodness me, that's
no, I'm not insane. Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
that's an estimate, of course, and we don't
okay.
have any detailed stats on that quite yet. But yeah, we're hoping to have a first like playable of the full game soon, so we can gauge exactly how long it is and how it compares. So,
So would that, I don't know, it's very difficult really to translate that to hours specifically, isn't it?
yeah,
Because,
exactly. So that's why I'm picking
yeah,
percentages. So yeah, I
yeah,
think
because
that's
otherwise, yeah, it really depends.
yeah.
And I mean, what's it been like working again with Raw Fury on this? Because it does seem, your publishers, because they have seemed to have been quite sort of invested in continuing this story and
Absolutely.
working with you. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
they've
tell us a
been
bit about
great.
that.
Yeah, it's been a great relationship. I'm really happy that he wanted to invest so much in a sequel. I basically pitched them my dream sequel, and I got everything I wanted. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
super happy with that. Yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely.
can you? I mean, without spoiling it, in what sense was it a dream sequel?
Well, I mean, no compromises in terms of game length or story or production values. I mean, we have bumped up the graphics in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And we got to spend more time on developing the story and the narrative and all that. So yeah, I'm super happy with it.
Yeah, and on that fact, on the graphics, tell us a little bit then about kind of the processes for that, because I have noticed that quite an upgrade in that.
Yeah. So I wanted to do more traditional pixel art because I love pixel art style in general, but also with some modern features like dynamic lighting, reflections, shadows, that sort of thing. You're probably the best example is the screenshot, the nighttime screenshot on the Steam page
Yes.
to see some of these techniques in action. Uh, and Another new thing for Clifftop is what we refer to as cinematics, which is basically cutscenes with larger scale characters. You see one shot in the trailer of Kathy on her bike.
Yes.
So we'll have a number of those scattered along the game during like key narrative moments and that sort of thing. Uh, so yeah, in those ways, I guess we have improved on the graphics, and also I guess we have bumped the resolution slightly, and we have slightly larger characters. They have a bit more detail in them as well. So yeah.
And talk to me a little bit about your team, because obviously you're the studio head, the creative director, but you're a pretty small team, aren't you? Tell me about who else you've got working with you, and yeah.
Yeah. So we only have three full-time people. So
Yeah.
it's myself, and then our lead artist, Harvey. He's in Paris, France, and then our programmer, who is also located in Sweden, in a different town, Andreas. So a programmer, a lead artist, and then myself. And then, of course, we work with many different consultants during different stages in the project and all that. So, yeah.
And obviously, how I'd be interested to know just in general, like how you kind of found the past few years as such a small team, because obviously, especially recently for many companies, it's been quite challenging times for devs of all sizes, really. So, what has it been like for you guys?
Well, it's been okay. Of course,
Mm.
we're worried about the rise of generative AI like everybody else. But
Yeah.
I mean, the project has been funded, and we knew that we would be okay until launch. So we've been fairly comfortable compared to many other developers potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose on that point with the kind of AI topic,
Yeah.
is that something that you said you've obviously concerned about it. I guess what are
Oh,
your thoughts on it
you
in terms of
can't
in the
hear you. No,
industry?
I cannot hear you.
Oh, you
Oh,
can't hear me. Can
oh,
you hear
no,
me
you're
now?
back.
I'm
Okay.
back.
Yeah. What happened? Please repeat your
Yes,
question.
sorry. It's the AI. It's getting in the system. It's
Yeah,
hacking
yeah,
the
yeah.
system.
Exactly.
It was literally just I was just interested because you mentioned that point about being concerned about AI, and I was just
Yeah,
interested
yeah.
to know your thoughts on it in general, in kind of
Yeah, I'd hate to
its
be forced to
uses.
use it. We
Yeah,
try to avoid it as much as we can, and of course, it feels like it's just a matter of time until the market is flooded with shovelware or these kind of subscription services just generating content on the fly, and we'll all, yeah, it feels like it could be the death of human creativity. I mean, it's really quite a doom and gloom, but
yeah.
yeah.
Could you ever see it being used? I mean, would you ever use it in some senses as a tool? I don't know.
Sure, sometimes it can be good just for brainstorming
Yeah,
things. Like I could use like ChatGPT if I want to come up with a cigarette brand or something. I could ask it, can you give me 10 examples of a cigarette brand? And maybe I pick some pieces together and come up with something. So
yeah.
of course it has its uses, definitely.
And I was interested because when I was just sort of looking this up and researching a little bit, just the announcement of this of Kathy Rain 2 and everything.
Yeah,
It's great to see, like you seem to be very invested in the community. You were there, kind of like I'm assuming it's
yeah.
you.
I've been waiting for this to
Yeah,
finally be able to share the project. So
replying
yeah.
to people, and I guess
Mm,
that I think fair play to you, because I know a lot of people just would get too bogged down with that, or would find it, I don't
yeah.
know, stressful, or because not everyone is polite about things. I will have to say people
Sure.
can be a little bit blunt about things. But why is it
Yeah.
important that you still interact with the community and reply to people?
Well, I love my fans, and I wouldn't be here without them. So I feel a great gratitude, and I'm excited to talk about my game and the things we do. So yeah, it's just positives for me, really.
And I guess let's talk a little bit about sort of setting it up in general, Clifftop games, because what made you get into sort of well, what made you decide to start up your own team, your own company?
Yeah, basically, I just got lucky, and I
Yeah,
knew the right people at the right time. So I worked at Paradox at the time as a programmer, and a colleague of mine was leaving the company to start a new publisher, Raw Fury, and he knew about my game, and he pitched it to his partners, and they basically just signed the game for me. I didn't even have to pitch it. So yeah, that
that's
was
very
just
handy.
lucky. Yeah, really lucky.
And so, what were you? So you say you were at Paradox, is that right? Before that, and
Yeah, as a programmer, yeah.
right, okay, and then
Mm.
you decided to. I guess that must have been a bit of a leap, though, going from programming to kind of the studio head, the creative
Sure, but
force
I
behind it
had
all.
worked on Catherine for a number of years,
Yeah,
sort of as a side project, so it was still well in progress. So I was still familiar with what needed to be done, and the first game was very much a one-man gig. I didn't have a team or anything. I just worked with a couple of freelancers
yeah.
for art and that sort of stuff. So it was quite different in that way. But yeah, I've had to sort of grow into the role as a creative director. Sure, that's a specific skill set. Yeah.
And what would you? I guess that I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are programmers at a bigger company and maybe have this kernel
Yeah.
of an idea. They've thought of something and that they're wanting to perhaps make that leap. What would you
Yeah.
suggest? What are some tips you would give to people around that? Obviously, sometimes it's not the best idea. You've got to have that belief, perhaps. But yeah, I guess any
Yeah, I
thoughts on
mean,
that?
for us programmers, it's easy to just get started on your own
Yeah,
because you have the technical side sorted, and you can usually get free assets just to experiment with. So just get going on your free time and see how you feel about doing a game on your own, and then yeah, see where it goes
yeah.
from there. Yeah,
Maybe stay put where you are until you've got a
yeah,
fair bit
until
of
you know
work.
that it's feasible, or if a publisher picks it up, who knows?
Yeah. Which is, I guess that's what happened with you, and that was quite a. I suppose
Yeah,
it's all about, it's a little bit about kind of networking, isn't it, and knowing
sure,
the right
absolutely.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and yes, Chris says, will this be the last Kathy Rain game, or is that yet to be decided based on sales, or have you already planned for something else after this?
I don't think we have a decision on that, but
Yeah,
the door is open for more Catherine games, and I'd love to make more Catherine games. But of course, sales will be paramount.
yeah.
Like I mentioned, Raw Fury has invested a lot in this project, and it needs to perform well as well. So yeah.
Yeah, which is
Mhm.
understandable. I guess
Yeah.
understandably, the passion is there, but you also need the passion from us, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Another question is, what's the this is a fair, what's the best PDX grand strategy, and why is it Stellaris? Yeah.
Oh, it is Stellaris. I have to agree. Yeah, I love Stellaris. It's awesome.
Yeah, yes, thanks for that. You are, yes, it doesn't just have to be Kathy Rain questions, but yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, and what was I going to say? Yes, I mean, I was interested because I looked at the trailer for Kathy Rain 2 and
Yeah,
which Raw Fury put out on their YouTube. And I was
yeah.
interested to see, even on that, there was this kind of a couple of people that were saying like, oh, it's woke because it's a woman with blue
Yeah,
hair, and
yeah. But
they.
those trolls
I
always
know
come
it does
around.
seem,
Yeah,
there's this kind of vocal minority at the moment
yeah,
of people can't bear to see
yeah.
women protagonists. And the thing is, Kathy
Mm.
Rain has been around for a long time. It's not like this is a
Yeah.
new. But I
Exactly.
don't know your kind of thoughts on perhaps what some of these reactions sometimes, or
Well,
again,
I
you were
think the
very
best.
polite, but yeah,
Yeah. I try to ignore them
yeah,
as far as I can. Yeah.
yeah.
It's necessary. Yeah, it's something that happens and something you have to expect to some degree. But yeah, I try to ignore them.
Mm. But yeah, like I said, you did you were quite polite with that. But I suppose in general, thoughts on female this sort of I guess movement slightly against kind of female protagonists, or anything that's seen as, I don't know, slightly different to the norm.
Yeah, it's a shame that it has gotten this far because I've
Mm.
always loved strong female protagonists. So, I mean, the characters like Ellen Ripley and Buffy inspired Kathy in the first place. So yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. But
And talking about kind of those strong female characters, I'm guessing we're going to see Kathy back with her motorcycle again, aren't we? That's got to
of
be,
course, of
yeah,
course, yeah, yeah.
good. I'm glad to hear because that was, yeah, that's. I mean, and again, you could say, oh, that's sort of moving towards a certain type of trope, but that's what she's always been like. That's the whole point
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of
He
the
is a bit
character.
cliche in some ways, but I like that kind of thing too sometimes.
And I think this
Mhm,
is, I mean, is a question that I think was asked earlier in the stream, but
mhm.
and I'm guessing you probably don't know the answer to this yet. But in terms of kind of when you're thinking this might come out, have you got any thoughts roughly?
I can't say much of anything
Yeah,
about that, but I mean, we're not going to announce the game if it's 3 years away. So
yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's not going to be that long, but yeah, still some ways to go.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Because, like you said, when was it you started? It was 2021.
2021, end of 2021.
And
Yeah,
so, what? Obviously, you've got this demo coming out, which is great. Looking forward to that. And
yeah.
what kind of point are you at in development in general then?
Well, so I mentioned we're pretty late in development,
Hmm.
and I think early next year we'll probably have the first fully playable version of the game.
Great.
It's
Okay. Yeah.
kind of an early alpha. So yeah, you could probably approximately gauge from there where
Yeah.
we go. Yeah.
And I guess if people, I don't know if will you be looking for kind of play testers or anything?
Yeah, I already found some. Yeah,
Excellent.
yes,
Excellent.
some. Yeah, my Discord is full of them now. So
I bet. Yeah. 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 Oh,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
super happy.
And we'll share a link to that as well.
Yeah,
If anyone wants to check that out. I will. If anyone has got any more questions about Cathy Rain 2, please do feel free to drop them in the chat. But interested as well to talk a bit about your other games, especially Whispers of a Machine.
yeah.
Um, we've got the revival of Cathy Rain. Would there ever be a chance of a revival of Whispers of a Machine? Do you think?
Sure. I mean, I've been talking to Petter Ljungqvist. So some people may not know that Whispers of Machine was kind of a co-development between Clifftop and Faravid Interactive. Uh, with Petter Ljungqvist there, he also made a game called The Samaritan Paradox a while
Mm.
back, and most recently launched Midnight Margot, I think earlier this year.
Oh right, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so we're friends, and we're keeping regular contacts. Of course, working together to some extent could be a possibility in the future, either a Whisper sequel or some kind of spiritual successor, maybe
Yeah.
something like that. I'd love to explore that kind of gameplay in more detail. Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
would
because
be
it's
really
still
cool.
got that sci-fi element, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
sure.
but it's obviously quite a different, maybe a slightly more philosophical side of things,
Yeah,
certainly with
yeah,
the
I see.
choices. But I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know again for that where the sort of inspirations came for you into making that because it is quite different, obviously, to Cathy Rain in many ways.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason for
Yeah,
doing it because we wanted to pivot a bit from Cathy Rain because we felt that okay, this is not commercially viable. We need to do something that has more replayability, more innovation in some way in
sure.
terms of gameplay. So that's where it began, I think, with just the gameplay, with the branching and that sort of thing. And me and Petter started talking about way back then the talk about AI and the risks of AI. And back then it was mainly just the AI singularity kind of talk, doom and gloom, and not so much generative AI and that sort of thing. Uh, and then, yeah, I mean, I think he came up with the original concept, or rather the setting, that it was kind of a post AI world and that sort of thing. But as it comes to the augmentations and that sort of stuff, that's heavily inspired by like Deus Ex, those kind of
Yes.
games. And sort of the Scandinavian setting is very inspired by Nordic noir in general, like The Bridge, particularly that television
Oh
series.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool. I
it's
didn't
fun.
realize that was
Yeah,
an inspiration. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
yes, I suppose it has those sort of again that kind of like dark feeling that
yeah,
um
exactly. Yeah,
from those kind of things. But yeah, I mean I really enjoyed it and I suppose like you said it would be potentially it may be difficult to do it as a straight up sequel, but maybe like some kind of
yeah, spiritual
spiritual.
successor or something like that. Yeah, could be
Yeah.
cool.
And do you get much chance to play games yourself? Is there anything you've been playing, or is it quite difficult to find the
Well,
time?
I try to find times to play games every now and then. I
Yeah.
played the new Golden Idol game recently,
Oh
and I love
yes,
it.
the Rise,
Yeah,
Rise of the Golden Idol. Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I love those
yeah.
games. I'm a big fan of Obradin and everything like Obradin, so
Yeah,
I can't
same.
wait to
Yeah.
get my hands on that. Yeah, that was
And
really cool.
in terms of, I mean, I guess, are you quite an adventure game fan yourself? Have you had inspiration from the classics? So
Yeah, of course,
yeah,
like everybody. Yeah, yeah. Like I mentioned, Gabriel Knight is a huge
yeah,
influence
yeah.
yeah, on the original Catherine. So yeah, yeah, sure, I love the classics.
Yeah, because that's what I think what I think a lot of people enjoyed with Clifftop is that it felt like they were creating maybe a more modern version, because obviously we've got the, you know, the fantastic stuff from LucasArts and Sierra, but
Yeah.
then it was great to have a more modern example. And whenever I see people kind of in the forums being like, oh, um, you know, is there any more modern examples? I always see people like saying, oh yeah, Clifftop games, yeah, try this.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice to hear.
And I don't know if you've kind of felt that, if you, I mean, obviously am I right in saying what Wadget Eye Games work with you guys, or am I thinking of something
Yeah,
else?
they've helped us with the
Yeah.
voiceovers for both Catherine and Whispers of Machine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like it's great to see just another kind of generation, another kind of group of I guess adventure gamers pushing the genre on a little bit sometimes,
Yeah, yeah, for
because
sure.
that,
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about it. Sometimes it does feel like too often people are just relating back to the classics rather than, I don't know, pushing it further. I don't know
Yeah,
what you think
yeah,
about
I
that.
see what you mean. And of course, that's something that I've always tried to keep in mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a question actually about Whispers and its art, which
Hmm.
is Whispers always made me think a lot about the sci-fi art of Simon. I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Stellenhag.
Storan Hag. Yeah, yeah,
Stellenhag. Sorry. Was that
yeah.
something
His
you
art,
were looking at during development of that game?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big influence for the art style of that game. Yeah, and always was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
And I suppose in terms of what's next, really, I guess this is going to be what you're working on for quite a while, and
Yeah.
then
Who
I
knows?
suppose we're going to find. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm.
And in terms of like, if people want to find out a little bit more about this project, or you know, Clifftop
I guess the
Games.
team forums probably is the best way to get accurate information about that. Yeah.
Okay,
And
and
of course, follow us on socials as well on X or Blue
socials,
Sky
yeah, which
or
is Clifftop
wherever.
Games.
Yeah.
I will post
Yeah.
it. If anyone's got any more kind of questions, feel free to drop in the chat. What was I going to say? Yeah, which would be great to. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing this demo. Even if I'll try and play
Cool.
it if it's
Yeah.
just up for 24 hours. I'll try it.
Yeah. 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 It's not that
um,
long. It's not 30 minutes. I suppose if you get stuck, it could take a little bit longer.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. But then you said it will be up for. I guess a new sort of version of it will be up for Steam Next Fest as well.
Yeah. Potentially not that different depending on what kind of statistics we
No.
get from this first trial. So we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. And the most important question of this whole thing is, do you have a favorite chocolate bar, Yol? Because I always ask people this at the end.
Well, I love chocolate with orange and yeah, orange
Ooh,
chocolate
me
kind of.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Have you ever had Terry's chocolate orange? I don't know if you've heard of that in
No,
Sweden.
I don't think so. Not as far as I know.
Oh, you've got to have it. It's great. It
But,
is basically just orange
oh,
chocolate, but it's in the shape of an orange, and each there's like
oh, that's
segments.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I'll
great.
have to try
Have you
it.
ever? I don't know if you. Do you think? I mean, this is a bit far in advance because obviously it's not even been announced yet. But we've got potentially Adventure X, hopefully returning at the end of 2025. Would that be something
Yeah,
you'd be interested in?
of course. Yeah, yeah. We usually go at least just to
Yeah,
mingle and talk to other adventure game developers. It was a shame that it never happened this year.
I
It's
know.
gonna be,
Yeah.
yeah,
But understandable as well. But yeah, well,
yeah,
hopefully, you know, maybe that'll be something you'll be able to show Kathy Rain to at, or even just like you say, be there to
yeah. I
chat.
think it's quite likely that it will happen. Yeah.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
And if that is the case, yo, I will bring a Terry's chocolate orange
Oh, thank you. That would be highly
for you to
appreciated. Yeah.
try.
Mm.
Yes, a lot of there's agreement in the chat about how it's good, but there you go.
All right.
Yo, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention, either about this game or kind of any
Mm.
other projects. think we've covered the basics about the story. I suppose, as you say, will there be kind
Oh,
of
now you're muted again.
yeah,
Oh, now you're back.
oh,
Yeah,
I don't
cut
know why
out
that
every
is.
now and
That's really
then.
strange. And maybe I'm just waffling on too much, but
I don't think
um,
so.
I guess yeah. I was just trying to think if there's anything else we haven't covered about the story, but I suppose as she's chasing this serial killer, is there going to be kind of any sort of side quests or extra things she's got to be working out as she goes along?
Oh, no, she mainly sort of covers that case. It's not like it's going to be a bunch of little mini cases
No,
that connect
yeah,
to the big case. It's just a big case, and you follow up on different leads and that sort of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, so everything connects to the big picture. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh,
Mm.
I'm really looking forward to playing the demo.
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking forward to whenever it may appear in general as the full game,
Yeah,
and looking
cool.
forward to hopefully, if it happens with Adventurettes, hopefully seeing you
Well, likewise. Yeah.
then.
All right. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I will drop all the kind of information about it if people want to check it out,
Cool.
the website and everything. And yeah, yo, unless there's anything else you want to add, I think
We covered it all.
yes, we did.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. All right, thank you
Yeah.
again, yo. Lovely to
Yep.
speak to you,
Thank you.
and hopefully see you soon.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.